Welcome to Master the Game. I am Juice. We are so glad to have you guys here with us today. Our original guest was going to be Randall Hampton from the Little Game Master book. He wrote that, the first one, a couple years ago. He just had a Kickstarter a few months ago for the second one, and it actually includes a RPG that you can play with kids, which is funny because I see you guys mentioning that in the chat. Maybe it's because I haven't updated my description. I don't know. But yeah, so anyways, he could not make it. His power was out yesterday. I told him, if he wants, we can just call it off if that makes it easier for him. And, so we decided to reschedule probably for sometime in July. So we've got guests lined up throughout the month, though. We've got quite a few, which I'll actually go over real quick in case you guys are interested. We actually, next Tuesday's guest did cancel as well due to personal things coming up. But next week we will have Scott from Maximum Apocalypse. It's a new RPG that's, I believe, in Kickstarter right now. And the following week, the 23rd and the 25th, we will have Bill Allen from Bill Allen World on YouTube. And we'll also have DM Sarah, that she's a DM's Guild writer. Really, she has a ton of products that have got all sorts of the awards or whatever through DM's Guild, so that's cool. And then we will be talking to Feral Gamers Inc. On the 30th of this month. So that's just this month. So we've got a lot of stuff coming up. So yeah, it's kind of exciting. We've got a lot of good things going on. Let me read the chat here real quick. So DM Sammy says, the topic of gaming with kids is often skimmed over, but it is still an important topic. I've tried running a few D&D campaigns with some 7 to 12-year-olds, and it's difficult. You're right. So my first time playing an RPG, I was about 12 years old. And it was me and another 12-year-old and a neighborhood friend of the family. He grew up going to school with my uncle and stuff. He was about 26 at the time. And he ran Palladium books for us. So I can only imagine trying to run for a couple 12-year-old boys who just want to blow stuff up. But I feel like it'd be easy, so I don't know. But yeah, that's how I got into RPGs back in 1997. So, Chance's D&D spellbook says sup. Sup, Chance. I like your logo with the wizard hat. Chance says, I'm finally able to catch one of these. I'm glad you're excited to catch one. We've got a backlog of all sorts of stuff on the channel. So even if you can't catch things live, we've got, 800 videos that we've done since 2012. So don't judge me for the old ones. DM Sammy says, hi, Juice. Hi, Sammy. So Sammy and I have been talking recently. He has a YouTube channel where he talks, I think it's like DM tips. I caught one of the videos. I forgot now which one. But I watched it last week, I believe. And he had actually volunteered to run Pathfinder 2nd Edition for us, not realizing we were talking about 2nd Edition. But yeah, so anyways, Sammy's looking for games. So if you're in the Discord, which if you're not, you should go down to the description. Go join our Discord. But Sammy's looking to run and play in some games as well. So when you guys go over there, go to the LFP, which stands for Looking for Players channel. There is a pinned post where you can see, it's a Google spreadsheet that has everybody's availability and things like that. Put in the information you want, the nights you're available, games you want to play, how best to contact you, things like that. And your preferred method, I should say. And work that out. Or just if you're wanting to run a game, post it in the LFP channel. At times that has gone a little bit quick for people, and so if it's not right there for people to read when they first go in, they're going to miss it. So that's why we did the pinned post the way we did. DM Sammy said, I first role played when I was 13. Tell me about that. What happened? One, how long ago was that? Two, what game? How did that come about? Tell us your story. Love to hear it. Chance's D&D spellbook. Haha, I actually got my start DMing Adventurers League for kids. Okay, yeah. So I have, I actually I tried to run games for my daughter a little bit early. She was about, 4 or 5 the first time I tried to do it. I knew it was going to be unsuccessful, but I wanted to try. And I got maybe 10 minutes in before she couldn't focus anymore. A couple years later, um, we tried again, but this time we tried to stream it. It was her birthday. We went to dinner. We went and got her some Pokemon cards, and she wanted to play D&D. So I was like, all right, well, let's try streaming it. Why not? So we actually recorded our first real game together, and it was fun. She obviously I didn't. We played D&D 5e, right? But it wasn't. She didn't have a character sheet. I gave her three things she could do. She could do a wall of fire. She could throw a fire bolt, and she had a sword that had fire because fire was her theme. So we went with that, and she had a blast. So I didn't have her keep track of hit points or anything like that. I did all that for her. I think she was like 6, and we I controlled like all the paperwork stuff for her, so she didn't have to worry about it. I did straight rolls, like I didn't worry about modifiers on things, and I just made the DCs a little bit easier. But she loved it, loved it. Chance's D&D spellbook. Man, what are your thoughts on Pathfinder 2e? I actually had to start a second channel for it, and I really love it. Well, why did you start a second channel? Is it because of the branding of D&D spellbook? I'm curious about that, first of all. Victor says, hello, folks. And we'll get into Pathfinder here in a minute. Victor Snyder says, hello, folks. Welcome, Victor. Good to see you again. We might be mini painting tonight as well. So quickly, before I jump into anything else, we might be mini painting tonight and tomorrow. Saturday on this channel, we're going to have a Call of Cthulhu game. And I'm kind of excited about it. So I played Call of Cthulhu before. It was streamed on this channel. I was a player. It was D20 Call of Cthulhu. The DM was fine. The players were fine. But for some reason, I did not feel drawn to the game. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, Call of Cthulhu is my game. Now I was distracted. I think my wife needed me for something middle of the game, so I actually had to like walk away of that game mid-game. But yeah, I don't know what it is about Call of Cthulhu. It's never truly interested me, but my wife wanted to play. So we set this up, and the original DM backed out yesterday, and luckily I knew somebody who wanted to run Call of Cthulhu for me. And so I reached out to him because we had a Pathfinder 2nd Edition conversation the other day, and we were spitballing because we're both at the same point. Like, we're both trying to get into it. We both just got the book, the core book, and, So anyways, so Call of Cthulhu Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern will be happening. And again, I'll get into Pathfinder 2e here in a moment. DM Sammy says, my first game, it was around about 2016. I was at a scouts camp, and we played Pathfinder 1st Edition in a forest in Scandinavia. It was really cool. Okay. I can imagine that kind of being a nice, setting for it, too. I always give kids a custom simplified character sheet that I made a while back. It has a place to draw your character and some information. Yeah, I think 9 to 12-year-olds should be able to handle it. My daughter can handle a 5e character sheet, and she's 9. She's turning 9 tomorrow. So again, I think they can handle a 5e character sheet. Pathfinder, the beginner box, was color-coded for 1st edition. The character sheet was. I feel like you could probably do that with a 9-year-old too. That one, the rules are a little more complex, obviously, but I think you could do it. Chance's D&D spellbook. Well, I got this one for 5e and the other one for Pathfinder 2e. Yeah, I just do all my stuff on one channel. I have all the stuff here. When I started my YouTube channel, my tagline was wrestling with RPGs. Like kind of like a double meaning, right? Because I was trying to learn different RPGs, but at the same time, I was a big wrestling fan. I still am a big wrestling fan. And so I was trying to do both, and I realized real quick I didn't want to do both. So I get splitting it up. Plus, with your channel being so clearly branded D&D, I get that. But yeah, so now I have, and I don't do much with it, but I have a wrestling RPG or a wrestling channel, a sports channel, a personal channel, and this channel. My personal channel used to be my real estate channel because I was going to start doing videos when I was in real estate for real estate. But yeah, they didn't do that for very long, at least the videos. So now it's just a personal one. It's rebranded. DM Sammy, I didn't enjoy either. I prefer less demonic stuff. Wait, Call of Cthulhu. It's not, I wouldn't say it's demonic at all. It's just supernatural. Like people still think D&D is demonic just because you have demons in the game. But, hey, Whatever does it for you. AG Silver Radio, hi, sup? Welcome. Glad to have you here. DM Sammy says, I give the custom sheets to 7 and 8-year-old kids. I mainly play with my neighbors. Oh, okay. I get that. I mean, like I said, my daughter's, she's probably been able to grasp it this whole time being 8, but, she can sit still really well. Our kids, our son, our 5-year-old's a little bit hyper, but our 8-year-old daughter's really good at being able to sit still. She does, and if you watch our stream, you can see she does get a little antsy sometimes and a little bit hyper at times, but for the most part, she's really good at sitting still and focusing when you're one-on-one with no other stimulation going on, like no TV or music in the background. So, yeah. AG Silver Radio question, what's your favorite class to play in 5e? Oh, just a minute, guys. Just a minute. All right. Sorry about that. My kids came out to tell me that my 1-year-old's awake. Actually, just another moment because apparently they left the door open. So let me go close that. All right. This 1 o'clock time slot's kind of hard because we got a 1-year-old that sleeps, and then a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old who can't, keep themselves entertained. Only when I come out here. If I do anything else, they don't bother me. They'll be like playing video games. They'll watch TV. They'll play with their toys. But for some reason, they hear I'm streaming and they're like, "Oh, Daddy's streaming. We got to go talk to him." So there is that. So two things right now that people want to talk about. It's second edition Pathfinder, which I'll get into because I think that's going to be a long part. But what is my favorite class to play in 5e? So I prefer martial classes. Always have, but I like to go against type with things. So I've always really loved my Halfling Barbarian. That's like one of my favorites. The most fun I've ever had in a campaign was with Brasswick Feeblehammer in the first season of Provokers. And he was a Hill Dwarf Life Cleric. So I guess if I have to narrow it down to one class that's my favorite, I'll have to say Cleric. And before 5e, I did not like playing Clerics. So, yeah. DM Sammy says, my parents won't let me play D&D because they think it's evil. I can't seem to shake that stereotype of summoning circles and devils from the game. Well, my wife got into D&D when she was really young. Her parents are Episcopal, and they questioned it. And it was her and her siblings that played. And so they wanted to see what it was all about to make a judgment. They watched them play one game. They sat down there for 3, 4, or 5 hours. Afterwards said, oh, you're just playing pretend. Okay. And that was it. They never came down and bothered them again about it. So maybe that would work for you. Maybe give that a shot. AG Silver Radio. I have some young relatives who I think would enjoy D&D if I can get them into it and find them a DM. Yeah, I think there's plenty of people out there who run games for kids. I'm totally open to it. In fact, my wife is planning with some local businesses a Pride event for next year. We have a friend who's a business owner in town, and my wife is helping set up a Pride event. And I said, hey, if you need someone to come down and run some games, whether it's for kids or whatever, I'll DM, for some people there at the bookstore if you want. So I've put myself out there to run for kids. It's about 7:30 where I am right now. My first character was a Catfolk Rogue. And Rogue is my favorite class. My wife's favorite class was Rogue before 5e. And now hers is Sorcerers. Clerics and Druids are messed up in 5e. Haha. I love Clerics in 5e. Druids, I actually like the lack of restrictions. So one of the things about Pathfinder is it still hangs on to some of the old school thinking about some classes. Like the Champion, which is formerly a Paladin, being very alignment focused. I hate that. And Druids not being able to use metal weapons and stuff. I hate that as well. But I do think that Pathfinder hit it out of the park with their new game, for sure. I think it's great. Or Paizo did. AG Silver says, my favorite is Wizard, followed by Paladin. Okay. I don't understand the appeal of Wizards. Can you please explain it to me? I feel like they're just vanilla. Which vanilla is a flavor, so I get it. People like vanilla. I like vanilla. But I would rather have almost every other ice cream other than vanilla. There's some I just don't like butter pecan ice cream or something. But, you know. DM Sammy says, I should try that. Maybe they won't summon the Pitchfork Brigade joke. Yeah, dude, I seriously think it might work. You know what you could do, too? Is ask them to play a game with you. Don't tell them it's D&D. Give them some characters that you think they would enjoy. And just run a game and be like, you just played D&D. Was there anything evil or demonic about that? In fact, I know somebody who did that. What was her name? What was it? Her channel name was something Skywalker. She's from Michigan as well. I've talked to her a few times. She's really cool. But she was going to Central Michigan at the time. When she went home for Christmas, she ran a game for her family. So she bought them all dice, gave them a character sheet, and then forced them to play D&D over Christmas. And they all loved it. And I think they've started doing that more often. Chance's D&D spellbook. I'd just be like, Ma, we fight demons. We're the good guys. Haha. Yeah. And be like, we always win. It's no different than Superman beating up, Lex Luthor, or Captain America beating up Red Skull. Like, Marvel is not oh my God, Nazis. Like, no, it's good versus bad, and good usually prevails. Like, yeah, it's really, and just, I don't know. It's funny how people are sometimes. DM Sammy, cool. Rogues are cool. Yeah, they're okay. I don't have a problem with them. I think they can be fun with the right class, or right role play situations. DM Sammy, wizards are boring because they were overplayed. I don't think they're overplayed. I don't see the flavor in playing it. I don't feel like there's a lot of variety. However, actually, I take this back. So I do like in 5e that you can cast spells if you're proficient in armor. And I do think it would be cool to be a mountain dwarf wizard. Me and Dave from Nerdarchy have talked about this. He used to play a mountain dwarf wizard that wore armor. I think it would be cool to do that as well. And because you already get the weapon proficiency with the battle axe and the hammers, plus now you can wear armor, but basically be 100% wizard, it's awesome. So I actually think that would be a blast. AG Silver Radio, D&D is a game for nerds, by nerds. And wizards are the nerdiest class you can be, especially my sage divination wizard. Okay, different strokes for different folks. Clearly, you like playing the wizard, the more thoughtful, tactical character, the smart one. I like playing the dumb, hit him with my weapon type of character. So I have no problem with that. Or like my halfling barbarian, I like to run up and bite him, just literally bite him instead of hit him. Now, luckily, I've had some cool DMs who let me roll my weapon damage for that and just role play that I was biting whoever I was hitting, and it was awesome. I agree, it is good versus evil, but if the evil is too prevalent, people have problems. But I don't think it's because of that. So, Sammy, you're clearly young. In the 80s, it had nothing to do with if the evil was too prevalent. It had everything to do with parents opening the book and seeing that there were demons and devils in the monster manual. That is it. There was no other basis for it. And then they freaked out. Now, I live in Michigan, where the story of the kid going into the basement of MSU, Michigan State University, ended up committing suicide. He did not commit suicide because he played D&D. That's the other thing. They knew he played D&D and they latched onto it. It's just like the shooters of Columbine listened to certain kinds of music and then everyone demonized certain type of music. And no, those kids were abused. Like there was so much more to it. So again, you can't blame little stuff here and there. You can at times. Like if someone's a certain mindset and then you give them certain things that can feed into it, you get problems, right? But D&D does not make you bad. Certain music does not make you bad. It doesn't make you, do these things. For most people, it's a release. Just like D&D, it's an entertainment. It's a release. So I understand where you're coming from. I just don't agree. AG Silver Radio. I like using magic creatively. I get that. I've been thinking about how to use magic and just my actions in general more creatively lately. So for example, we have a Pathfinder Second Edition one shot coming up, um, in like the first month of July, I think. And when that comes up, we I'm gonna probably be playing a fighter. But I didn't want to just be the run up and hit it with my weapon type of fighter. So I've been thinking about how I can be creative in combat. And some of the stuff I was thinking about are like, oh, I could prepare to cut down a tree or, whatever. Try to control the battlefield a little more by doing things other than just hit the bad guy, right? Now, I don't know. I think we're fighting a bunch of undead. So I don't know how it's going to play out, but I think it'll be fun. And I'm kind of excited to see how it goes. Um, so DM Sammy says, I agree, it's all about balance. If you pretend to be an evil character for too long, you start to become them. I 100% disagree. I don't become a barbarian by playing a barbarian. Like, or a wizard. I don't, like, I don't get into, maybe I just don't get into my characters that much, but I don't know anybody who started to act like their characters outside of game before. I've never seen that, and I've been playing RPGs for a long time. I think that's the misconception, but I've never seen that. So anyway, and I've been playing for 23 years. So we used to play in 2014 and 15 with a Facebook group. We were playing games like almost every night. That full like late 2014 through 2015, just ridiculous amounts of games. And we played evil campaigns. We played as the Gith, who were very militaristic. In fact, some of the people I know who are the most kind, gentle people in real life play some of the most vicious, brutal characters in game. So, AG Silver says, Paladins I like for the reason everyone else in postmodern culture seems to hate them. They are lawful good. Even though my own Paladin is neutral good, slightly chaotic leaning. I don't get the lawful good aspect of Paladin. So lawful, I understand. Obviously, they have an order they, pledge themselves to. I get that. As for the good, I mean, the Crusades were not done for the right reasons. Lots of people serve deities and stuff and gods in real life that they do evil acts in the name of their gods. So I don't think necessarily Paladins necessarily need to be good. Sammy says, I've heard lots of horror stories from my parents. They're probably just rumors, though. Yeah, so what I've seen is some churches will demonize D&D. It's usually religious people demonizing it. Outside of that, again, one of the safest places you can ever go to is like a gaming convention. Like 100% one of the safest places. I've been to Gen Con with 60, 70,000 people. No issues. In fact, the one issue I've ever heard of was because of being racist or homophobic or something outside of, I think it was homophobic, outside, like online, that then, these two people from different parts of the world came to the same place and one guy got punched in the face. That was it. Okay. Good. Hopefully it helps. Yeah, I play D&D with my 9-year-old daughter. My wife plays. My wife grew up, really ingrained in church. So, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's basically it's like playing with toys. I mean, that's really what you're doing. You're playing make-believe. You're telling stories. It's kind of like a board game, except you talk for your character and you act for your character. It's not rolling a die to move and do what you're doing. In fact, me and my daughter, when we play, when she kills a monster, it disappears. She's like, and it disappears. You don't have to explain it in any gory detail. It's no different than a cartoon where there's fighting and they don't show blood or anything like that. And you don't have to do things in combat. Like, nothing has to be done with combat. You can do it strictly as conversational role play. The cool thing is it allows you to be creative, to problem solve. Just because something's a goblin doesn't mean it has to be bad. Maybe the goblin's looking for food for its family, and you can offer it food for its family, and it leaves everybody alone. I've heard of people getting real creative with stuff like that. Um, so I went to a pretty accepting church growing up that was not, they didn't demonize any of that stuff. It was actually really nice. So, anyways, on to Pathfinder Second Edition. So, I've done videos in the past. Me and my buddy, who he actually taught at a Christian school, and he plays D&D. Nate from WASD 20. I don't know if he still teaches at a Christian school, but he was a teacher for um, a Christian school, and um, his school let him do a class on D&D. So there's the other thing as well. But I don't really want to get too much into that anymore. I've talked about it a few times on this channel. But I do want to talk about Pathfinder. So fighting dragons. Ooh. This game, so the reason I got away from Pathfinder First Edition is because I did not like having to look up rules constantly at the table. I felt like it was distracting when I was playing it with other people, you know. And I was the GM, because they call it a game master in this one. Because Dungeon Master is copyrighted or trademarked by Wizards of the Coast. Um, BN Drake says it's problem solving, interpersonal skills, and using your creativity. Exactly. Um, and then Sammy says, I survived my lockdown thanks to playing D&D with my friends over Zoom. Yeah, we've moved all of our in-person games online. Um, and the one online game we had actually ended since COVID. So now we've got our two games that are in person are now online. And then we have another game that was in person with family that I think we're going to move online. My wife and I still have to message the group, but it's her brother, his wife, they're uber Christian, right? Like they're heavily involved with their church. They raise a bunch of money for their church. They donate a ton of money for their church. They're awesome people, and their 14-year-old son. So it's those three, and then me and my wife, and we play. But we need to move that game online as well. We haven't played it in a few months, like 3 or 4 months now, and we're playing Tomb of Annihilation, which is a jungle adventure where you're basically trying to remove a curse, and you're trying to figure out the curse and remove it so that people can go back to their lives basically like normal. It's a fun adventure. So Pathfinder Second Edition. So I was running First Edition, and this was back in 2013. I started buying the books. In 2014, I ran a little bit for my wife, a couple solo games, and then we got a group together and we played a couple sessions, and it was fun. But I felt like we had to look a lot of things up. People didn't know how to play their characters, didn't know how to do the actions they wanted to do. I didn't know everything, and so it was really tough to get through things without having to look to the book or make a ruling on the spot. And that was really hard for me. So we ended up ending it when 5th edition came out. Not ending the campaign, we just ported our characters over. A couple of people just decided to make new characters with 5e and not try to port their character over. And we loved it. 5e has been my favorite game. It's still probably my favorite game, but I find the lack of customization to be kind of frustrating. And there are it's hard for a player to become so much better than the rest of the group at certain things that it can almost ruin the game for the other players from a DM standpoint. So I've had players who had really high passive wisdom, so now you can't surprise them, so it removes any kind of surprise whatsoever. And that's fine. But then when you have something that does somehow do it, like it almost feels like you're cheating. Like I feel like the players will think I'm cheating, So I just never felt good about that. With that, on top of that, in 5e, you might have a character with a really low armor class, but you might have, in fact, most of your group might have either middle to poor armor classes, but then you might have one guy who's got like a 22 armor class. And it's like, crap. Okay, so the only way to even hit that guy is to either focus on his weaknesses with spells. Like, okay, his armor class is 22, so I can't like throw stuff at him. I can't shoot him. I can't hit him. I now have to use a spell that's going to target a mental stat. And that is hard, I think, because now, if you're doing that, the other characters, like, you're already making monsters that are more powerful that are going to hit almost all the time on the other characters. And that's where the issue I have is with 5e. I like 5e, I love the balance, but at the same time, there's certain things that can get crazy that are very easy to get crazy at low levels. DM Sammy, you should try Table Finder, an online resource to find. There's so many things. Um, I have over 100 people in my Discord. I don't have a problem getting groups together at this point. Sometimes if I want to try a new game, it's hard to find a game master who will come in and run it for me and some friends. But yeah, so again, finding players is not a problem for me. And I've been doing this for so long, like I can reach out to other YouTubers and things like that. How do I deal with young players running off with my dice? I've lost a fair amount of D20s over the years. Inventory it. Like, give them the dice and then double check everything before they leave. Like, that's, I don't know. I've never had that problem. AG Silver Radio. Hot take. Even if you were playing as the demons in D&D, it's still just a game, not real life. Also, many campaigns don't even have fiends showing up at all. And those that do, they're enemies. So I am playing Descent into Avernus, which is basically going into one of the 9 hells. It's a module. It is one of if there's going to be something dark, that's the campaign module that's going to have it. But we play it very PG-13. So, and the idea is the players. So there's a city that was kind of sucked into the ground because a politician turned on them, or turned on the city or whatever. And so now you have to go in and rescue the city, and you kill the demons or fiends or demons and devils, which technically demons and devils fight each other and they're trying to vie for power. So you have to go there and do what you got to do to get the city brought back. So that's kind of how it is. If you ever need a GM, I'll do it. So Sammy, it depends on the games you've run though. And because I stream games, I can't stream games for minors, and it sounds like you might be around like 16 or 17 years old. So there's rules on YouTube about streaming games with minors. So 18 and up kind of thing. AG Silver Radio. Question. What do you think of online play, and do you have a preferred way to do it? I'm cool with online play. Ooh, I didn't realize my book got dented. I'm cool with online play. I've been doing it since 2014. Before it was cool. Before COVID, basically. I don't use... So I have used things like Roll20. We're going to be using Fantasy Grounds for our one-shot of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But I was using Google Hangouts back in the day, and some people liked using a dice app that was in there. I use the honor system. If I don't trust my players, then I don't want to play with them. That's just how I am. So roll your own dice. Like, I physically want to roll my own dice. So I encourage players to do whatever they want. If they want to use a dice app, if they want to roll their own dice. I do require a camera on faces. I do require a microphone that makes so we can hear you. And I do ask that if you're playing online and there's other people in the room, you at least have your mic muted then, so we don't pick up the TV in the background or the other people in the room talking, because it's very distracting. And it's hard it's very hard online in general to be able to hear who's talking, like if more than one person are talking. Like in person, you can tell. Online, you can't, because it's all just, So that's a big thing with online. I do like online. I've found that everyone's typically more focused. And I find that I've had a lot of good role play with people online. In person, though, it's better. It's a little bit more loose. I prefer miniatures. I prefer maps, but I don't like the hassle of like Roll20 and technology with those things. DM Sammy, my players hate rolling their own dice. It's just a preference. Hey, whatever. I played Pathfinder 1E and 5E. Yeah, 5E, finding people to DM is a dime a dozen. It's super easy. I grew up playing Palladium books. It was impossible to even find players willing to play that system. Now, Pathfinder 1E, because it was the most popular before 5E, it was also very easy to find players, very, very easy to find DMs. I still think it's easy to find 1E players and DMs, it seems like. I'm going to try to stay quiet now so others can get some attention. Oh, you're fine, man. Just keep them coming. DM Sammy says, could a minor join one of your games if they wore a mask? No, there's laws against it. Like, not laws against it, but there's specific things that have to happen for me to have a minor in a game of mine. So if I ran a game offline, I could do it, but if it's streamed, I can't do it. Just because of rules about it. So, and as a minor, I think you need like like not supervision, parental. Your parents need to give you, like, I don't know what the word is, permission, technically. So, again, I haven't read up on all the COPPA stuff, but like when you upload a video or upload a stream, one of the things it asks you is, are there any minors in your video? And you run the risk of getting your channel shut down. And I've been doing this since 2012. It's not a risk I'm willing to make. So, but offline, it wouldn't be a problem. I just don't run a lot of games. I've played one game offline in the last 2 years. And that was just because COVID was stressing everybody out. And we just wanted a goofy, not serious game. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So, yeah. Yeah, but it's more than just you having parental permission. Like, that's for you to have your own channel. But for me to bring a minor on my channel, there's things about it. So, and I don't feel like going through the hoops to figure it out and abide by the guidelines. Plus, running a game with 5-6 other people, you can't control everyone's actions. So, it's just one of those things. It's a line I don't want to cross. But in a year or two or whenever you hit 18, we can do it. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not even monetized right now, but I don't want my channel shut down. I love my channel. It's fun for me. I might monetize though very soon. Probably about a month or two. We'll see. And I might even get back to doing games on Twitch instead. But Twitch has some of the same rules, so I think Twitch is even more strict on some of it. But anyways, yeah. So I don't remember where I was at before that, but Pathfinder Second Edition. So we played 5e. It was a lot of fun, and I usually run it. I've played it. Playing it's cool, but I feel like I've played everything. I've got a folder that's like this thick over here somewhere. It's got probably 100 characters. I used to run D&D Adventures League when 5e first came out. I did it from Horde of the Dragon Queen, Rise of Tiamat, Tyranny of Dragons, and I did it with Princes of the Apocalypse. So that's about how long I did it, which was maybe 8 months. And it just wasn't my thing, right? It really bothered me, I guess, because I would have people come that were awesome and they'd come for a few times. But I had regulars that came too. And one of my regulars was really inappropriate and just, it caused problems because people would leave because of him. But then I had to tell him, dude, straighten up. And then he would for a little bit. It was just a huge mess. And not being in charge of the store, it's not like I could ban him or anything. And the general manager there changed. I actually started it because the general manager asked me if I wanted to, and I did, and then he left, and so it was just a huge mess. But I grew it from nothing. We had no people, and then early on we had about 4 people showing up for a couple months, and we grew it to 2 tables of about 10 to 15 people before I left, which I was pretty proud of. But yeah. Chance's D&D spellbook. Wait, why are you not monetized? So I used to be monetized. In fact, I used to, back in 2014 and 15, I had tons of views, tons of watch time. Not tons. I had good amount of views, good amount of watch time for me. Not like any of the big YouTubers or anything. And then they did that thing where they demonetized everyone if you didn't have at minimum 1,000 subscribers, which I did meet that criteria. But I didn't meet the last 12 months watch time criteria at the time, because in 2016 and 17 and even 18, I put out maybe a handful of videos. There were 2-3 years there I did no videos because I was working 60 hours a week. I had moved for the 3rd time in 2 years, all sorts of things. So I ended up stepping back from the Facebook group I was running, and there was a lot of drama with that, which is why I stepped away from it, because I just couldn't handle it anymore. And yeah, it just wasn't a good time. And so I just wasn't putting videos out. So that's what got me demonetized, because I don't remember what they called it. I think maybe that was the adpocalypse. I don't remember because I didn't really care. But they demonetized anyone who didn't have the watch time in the course of a year. So, um, so yeah. Kappa is brutal. Kappa very political. I don't have a problem with what they're doing. There's a lot of reasons for it. There's so many reasons. And this channel isn't meant to go over any of the YouTube policies. I don't. It's whatever. DM saying, I have one member of my group who's really inappropriate. It makes the game so much more awkward for everyone involved. I couldn't ban him because he was my best friend's brother. You can ban him. Like, I banned people from my games before, but I couldn't keep people from going into the game store. And the way the game store was set up that I ran at, it was not like a dedicated game store. Well, it is, but it wasn't like board games and stuff. Like, they had tables for Magic the Gathering, and they had one table for RPGs at first, and then we started pulling some of the Magic the Gathering tables. But then it was computers all along the one wall that you could come in, pay a subscription, and play computer games or use the computer. And then in the back corner, they had a very small shelf of RPGs that was maybe like as big as my space right here that I'm sitting at. Not the full table, but like half the table. And then they had like a couple shelves with board games. But mostly that place was for the computer stuff. It was called Grandland. They closed. But yeah. I can ban him, but it makes stuff even more awkward. No, I think you'd be surprised, man. You get rid of toxic players after... First, you got to talk to them, right? I don't know how old the people are you're dealing with. But talk to him, and then if he doesn't change, ban him. You'd be amazed at how much better your games will be and how much happier the other players will be. Because people who ruin games, they run people from the hobby. And that doesn't mean that he can't go find people that like his style of play. If he's into inappropriate jokes, he can go find a Beer and Pretzels game elsewhere. If he's into things getting... I mean, at your age, shouldn't get explicit, but whatever. There's people with different play styles. And some people like combat. Some people like to role play character interactions more. It just depends. There's groups for everybody out there, and I think it's important to figure that out. I can imagine at 14 through 16 how a kid being disruptive could be. I'm sure it's probably vulgar jokes or something. Like, that's what she said. And stuff like that. And that's me taming it down a little. But I don't like playing people like that. Never have. Like, occasional joke here and there is fine, but if they're doing it too much, it's too much. Gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. So Kappa, that whole thing, it is what it is. But my monetization thing. So last October I started doing more videos again, and getting more into doing things. Again, for me, back in the day, I was like, oh, I want to do it this way. And I started the channel more as to be social with other RPG people, because I didn't have a lot of RPG friends. And I was only into Palladium books when I started my channel. And then, and I had dabbled with second edition at the time, but not a ton of systems. 2014, when we started the one-shot group, obviously I was playing Pathfinder at that time and 5e. And we started doing chats where I was talking to a bunch of people online, kind of like this, but we had like 8 people in here just talking to each other. I wasn't worried about like the actual chat. And then we played all sorts of games. I played Numenera. I played, oh my gosh, I can't even think of all the games. D20 Call of Cthulhu. Someone made the RPG, so I got to watch them play that, which was a ridiculously lame game, but they all had fun, so whatever. Basically, everyone's a maid of some sort. I think one of them was a robot, like just random stuff, right? But yeah, Savage Worlds, I played that. I played Shinetar, which is a setting for Savage Worlds. I played Savage Rifts, just all this stuff. But as the one-shot group grew, I found that's the first time I ever thought, oh, I could monetize my channel and buy books and things like that with the money earned. And did it too, really quickly. Back then, I bought my D&D monster manual. I bought the Draco Lich from Out of the Abyss, I think was the big one. It's a big, undead dragon. That one's cool. And then some other stuff that I bought at that time. Bought new stuff for my YouTube channel, like my microphone that I still have 5 years later. So I was able to monetize back then. It did a lot of good for my channel. But as the one shot group took more of my focus in 2015, I didn't do as many videos. And at the time, I wanted to do like tips videos and just conversational videos about certain topics. And I was doing that, and it was fun. And then a bunch of other people blew up, as I quit doing videos or stopped doing as many videos. And then 2017, I went to Gen Con 50 with Cody Lewis from Taken 20. He invited me to go with him, paid for my ticket and everything. Just had to pick him up at the airport since I live fairly close. I'm about 4 hours. I'm in Michigan. It's in Indiana. I picked him up. We went to the convention, and we had a lot of fun. And the first day, my father had died before the convention started. But before we went that night, before we were talking about what I want to do with my channel, because he was trying to be really encouraging about what I should do, and I agreed with a lot of what he said and told him where I wanted things to go. And I was so gung ho until obviously the next morning I found out my dad died, and we ended up that weekend talking about different ideas. And when I went home, obviously I had to take care of other stuff, but slowly started implementing things. That's where I came up with the idea for the Master the Game YouTube channel. I made a list of about 20 names. Mastering the game was what I really liked, but then I ran it by some people, and most of them were like, that's like, they're like, that's not that good. Why don't you make it master instead of mastering? And I was like, you're right. So went with that. And the idea was we were going to do build guides, optimization build guides, synergy between party members, and like what are some cool combinations that you're going to get the most out of your game, and basically a lot of min-maxy power gamer stuff, which is stuff I like to talk about, but I don't like to necessarily do it all the time. I like to play various types of games, and it just depends. Like if someone wanted to run a meat grinder tomorrow and I had time and it was streamed, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it, and I mean, if it wasn't streamed, I might do it if I've got time. But like, that stuff's exciting for me, and that's in those instances, it's going to be heavily lethal, and so it's really big to try to survive as much as possible, right? You're going to die. You're probably going to go through 3 or 4 characters in that session, so that's cool, right? That's fun. That's the challenge of it. So I like doing stuff like that, or I like trying to play against type and make suboptimal characters like the Mountain Dwarf Wizard I was talking about. And so these videos were meant to be around that, but then I was also going to do tips for DMs to handle those specific players. So I might do a video about OP party composition, but then the next video 2 days later or a week later is about DMs. How do you handle this group? And so it was going to have stuff for both sides. And that was the idea in 2017. I still think I might do those things. And a lot of that too was because I had friends telling me I needed to niche down. I needed to focus on one specific thing with my channel. My friend Dave from Nerdarchy was like, hey, you're all over the place, because I did some crafting videos. I've done live streams. I've done, chats. I've done player tips, DM tips, just all over the place. And so for the longest time, I felt like, oh, I'm not doing my channel right for monetization. I'm just all over the place. I can't keep focused. But then last year in October, when I started it up again, I started doing some of the stuff I had wanted to do. And I'm glad I did. I enjoyed it. But I found myself wanting to do more variety, more stuff like this, and more live streams. And so that's when I decided to do whatever I wanted. So now I just do what I like. And the way I explain it to people is, look, I'm into RPGs, and this channel is what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day with RPGs. Whether it's, hey, I learned this thing about my game the other day. I screwed this up. This is how I'm going to try and do better next time, and try to help people going through the same stuff, or that haven't gone through the same stuff yet that might. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So AG Silver Radio, my local game store is about 50% shelves with product, 5% checkout, painting station, 10% RPG room, 35%. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, I get that. Like, we've got other gaming stores, and we've had other gaming stores that are set up differently. But the one was mostly for the computers. That's why it was Grand LAN, um, because LAN is a computer reference. Anyways, and I live outside of Grand Rapids right now. So yeah, Sammy says my local game store closed down last week. They only sold old school D&D apparel and nobody wanted to buy it. Well, that's their problem. Like, you got to adapt or die as a business, basically. It's unfortunate, but you know, you got to adjust with the times. Like right now, so we've got a bookstore that opened up 2 weeks before COVID, and as soon as it did, she shifted to delivering books to people. She started doing subscriptions. So if you like certain types of books, she would have those types, and she'd deliver a new one to you the next month and stuff like that. So yeah, or next week or whatever. She's been on top of it. She really adapted right off the bat. It was really good, and it wasn't part of her business plan ahead of time. And actually, she made birthday kits too. We actually just got one for our daughter whose birthday's tomorrow. So yeah. My tabletop RPG characters tend to be based on aspects of myself. I think that's what most people do in some way, shape, or form. But I think everyone has a temper. Everyone has like a shy side. Like it's just how much of that do you put into your characters? DM Sammy, my parents would like to know a bit more about the RPG discussion Discord group. I don't really have much information. I mean, you're in it. You can show them. So it's set up with different channels. We talk about different games. We have off topic, where anything that's not RPG related or doesn't belong on another channel can be talked about there. It's people want to get personal about what's going on with their life or whatever. Like for example, I complained one day that my wife was getting on me about mowing the lawn, and I was like, it's been raining 3 days straight. But we have a sports channel in it, video game channel, promotions of other YouTube videos, my videos, miniature painting channel, world building channel. So if you like to write and maybe you've got your own little world, you can write in there. Or if you're running a game and you want to talk about like the cities in your world, we got stuff like that. So that's all the information from my Discord pretty much. It's fun. I mean, your parents want to join, they can. I don't think they'll find it too entertaining unless they're interested in mostly RPGs or video games. The sports channel doesn't get used much. I've thought about taking that down. Let's see. Oh, mosquito again. Missed it. All right, Chance's D&D spellbook. Focusing on a specific kind of content is super great for building a community as well. It took me from 0 to almost 5K subs in less than a year. I 100% agree. I think that is, if someone was asking me for advice on starting a YouTube channel, I would tell them to niche down and find your focus for sure. But I think again, it comes down to, why are you doing a YouTube channel? I would love to make money one day and make this my full-time job. Luckily, I have a low barrier for making it my full-time job. I could do it relatively easy. And my wife luckily has a really good job. We've decided that it didn't make sense for me to work just because we have 3 kids with daycare. I've worked since I was 9 years old. I was a paper boy. I worked for my dad's pizza store when I was in middle school and high school. Before I left that and started doing it myself, I did painting and drywall over the summer a couple of years and some other stuff. I also, again, when I got out of high school, I've just worked basically 1 or 2 jobs almost ever since I started working. And even when I met my wife, I was working. My day job was a documentation specialist for an electronic contract manufacturer. And to save money and not spend money at night, I was a bouncer. So I was still able to be social, but I wasn't drinking. I wasn't spending money on things, but I was still out in the scene, kind of. And my wife was a bartender there. So that's how we met. Or she was a waitress there, but she was a bartender at our sister place next door. So, yeah. And then even after that, I was working. Again, I worked at that electronics place for like 8 years. Then I left. I did real estate, and then I went back there because they offered me a management position. They called me 2 years later, and I left car sales to go do that. And then I left that for real estate, and I did car sales again. Anyways. Um, but luckily, my my entry to full time YouTuber is not high. I mean, technically, I'm kind of a stay at home dad right now. I guess technically, I'm a full time YouTuber, right? But I don't spend those hours on it. So yeah, my advice for people if they want to start a YouTube channel is find your focus. If you want to craft things, cool, craft things. If you want to do DM tips, fine, do it. That's a hard thing to break into. There's so many people doing it. You want to do player tips, same thing. Reviews are good, but your audience, we have people that do that. Like Mr. Trask is a fantastic one. But I think the thing you're going to find is most people who will watch your videos are not going to watch all of them. Like you're going to have some people who are interested in like tons of RPGs, but the problem is you're never going to find people to play all of them. So review channels I think are kind of tough in our hobby. Chance's D&D spellbook. I literally just talk about individual spells. Yeah, I think it makes sense. The only issue I see with that, again, this is why I couldn't do that. One, I don't know a lot about spells, and I feel like eventually you're going to run out of content, right? I mean, there's a lot of spells, so maybe not. I don't know how often you post, but I have watched some of your stuff. AG Silver Radio, your condolence is appreciated. Oh, about the game store. I find it fun to have. Sorry, I've got like a mosquito flying around. It's really bothering me. I find it fun to have barbarians or bards in the party, but I don't really feel inspired to play one. I get that. AG Silver Radio. My first game had a lot of chaotic aligned characters. I got along well with the other players, but not the DM. So when I DM, it's hard for me when none of my players are playing a martial character. Um, for some reason, I don't know, but I feel like it's always more interesting to me when there is at least one person playing a fighter, a paladin, a barbarian, maybe even a cleric that's kind of flavored as your martial character of the group. Um, like the Tempest cleric or the War cleric. Those are cool for me. If I don't have those, I do tend to struggle. I've DM'd for a group that was like a sorcerer, a life cleric heal bot style that wasn't doing much other than healing, a bard and a druid, and I was like, I ran my game, but I didn't feel inspired. DM saying, I might have to leave soon. I'm running out of internet. DM tips are tricky. You have to do something unique. Or like, so there's a lot to it that you can do. I'm going to be wrapping up here soon anyway, and I didn't even get into Pathfinder really. The thing about DM tips is everybody's doing it, and so many people do it well. And why are people going to watch your stuff over theirs when those people put out content so regularly? Is it because they like your personality? Are you more entertaining? Are you more informative? Do you deliver the information better in a more concise way? Those are kind of what it comes down to. You're going to get people that watch your stuff just because you're doing it. But they're not going to continue to come back if they find someone that's doing those things better. People think it's like the camera quality or the audio quality. Audio quality is probably the most important, followed by video quality. But you'd be amazed. You don't need to use video at all. You can just use pictures, like slideshows, like Davey Chappie. But he's entertaining. So the thing that's him good is he's very entertaining. Luke, DM Lair. Good information, like really good information, really entertaining, really good sound quality, really good video quality. Like a year and a half ago, his channel was at 2,000 subs. He's now pushing 60,000 subs in a year and a half. Nate WASD20 does mapping as well as DM tips. So I would consider him a variety channel, but he's doing mapping and tips basically. He does some reviews, but mostly he's tips and mapping. Mapping's his big thing. Like if you look at his top videos, it's mostly mapping. Cody from Taking 20, he dabbles with other systems like Warhammer, Pathfinder, but most of his stuff's D&D 5e. He's done tutorials like Roll20. People started going to him because of his Roll20 tutorials. He had the best Roll20 tips. And that's what really shot him out of the gate. Then he was the first one doing Starfinder before Starfinder was even out. He got early access to it. That was around the time I met him at Gen Con 50, which is when that game was actually released. He had all his videos filmed for that month. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. But you have to be able to do something better. It's not just unique, it's better. If you don't do one of the things better, you're going to get views, you're going to grow, but you're not going to grow to the huge heights of other people. I don't think I do anything better other than I try to talk to my community one-on-one like this a lot. And Luke does this as well. So, and he does a really good job with it. He's got like a cat cam and all sorts of cool little cuts, but he only does it like 3 times a week. Normally I do interviews in this time, and that's just something I do for me since COVID, and it's something I like to do, and but yeah, so that's what I would say. Those are the big tips I'd have. I would niche down, just like you said, Chance. I do want to talk about Pathfinder real quick before I end this though. So I've done the flip through. You've seen it. My wife and kids gave me this as an early Father's Day gift because I've been expressing interest in it. Actually, I think my wife brought it up because I had said like one thing one day. And she's like, yeah, it sounds like that might be a really fun game. And I was like, yeah, I think it would. It's a lot like the system I've been working on myself, which is a mess. But she was like, yeah, we should check that out maybe sometime. And I said, yeah, that'd be cool. Well, apparently she had ordered it for me. I then interviewed Luis Loza, who's the developer of the Lost Omens line of Pathfinder. And that was a lot of fun. Luis is awesome, by the way. And then started talking to my friend Michael from Ask a Pathfinder. And then we did that video together talking about it, where I didn't know squat yet. And I will say, so since I got this book, I love what I've read. It seems just as crunchy as first edition to me, in reading through things. But I'm really interested in getting into it. I think I'm ready again for something with more crunch. I feel like there's probably some things after I run a few games that I'm gonna house rule. Like there's some negative modifiers on things I just don't like, things like that. Which I'm sure it's gonna drastically change the game in some aspects, but it's okay with me. I like how you create a character, the ancestries, the backgrounds, and the classes. I do wish they had a couple more ancestries. I really do. They have 8. So 6, but under human you have half elf and half orc. And when you choose an ancestry, you've got like 5 sub options, and they give you different feat trees basically that you can start. Or not necessarily feat trees, but different things that you can do to make them different. So not all humans are the same, not all elves are the same. There's a lot of variety. You could have all elf fighters in your party, and they're all going to feel completely different. That's what I like about this. And as a GM, I like that too. I love the idea that it's not going to go stale for me. I like the options. That's what I feel 5e has been missing. The other thing I like is using a shield actually feels different than not using a shield. Like there's mechanics associated with it other than, you just get a bonus to your armor class. I love that. Different weapons do different things. Now, maybe not as much as I'd like. Obviously you get a trait associated and you get damage that's maybe different. I wish there was a little more variety in the weapons and how they perform. But ultimately, it's a step in the direction I like. So I do like that. It sounds like I haven't read much on the skills, but it sounds like some of the skill stuff is a little bit too crunchy. Like they didn't need to make it so crunchy. Spells, there's some things I like, some things I don't. I do like some of the versatility. Like the heal spell, you can use it as a single, double, or triple action. If it's a single, you have to touch them and you do 1d8 healing. If it's a double action, you can cast it up to 30 feet away and add an additional 8 points of healing. And then if you do it as the third, it's like an area of effect, and it heals anybody in that field, as well as gives you an extra die of healing, as well as the extra 8. So it's 2d8 plus 16, I think. if I got that right. I might be remembering that wrong, but I do like that, and I wish they used that versatility with some of the other spells. Now, I will be doing a review on this once I've played this. Hopefully, I understand enough before then to do some actual how-to videos. I'm going to do some character creation videos for some of the other classes. Right now, I've only made a barbarian. Tonight, when we do mini painting, I'm going to make a dwarven fighter. So if you want to watch that, you're going to see my wife mini painting, but I'll be talking like this, just I won't be on camera. And I'll make my dwarven fighter tonight on stream. So if that sounds like something you want, make sure you come back then. It'll be about 8:30 p.m. Eastern, maybe 9 p.m. at the latest that we'll start. And maybe not, because I know my wife might be making a cake tonight too for my daughter. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just go live anyway and do my character creation video. But yeah, so I do like it. I'm interested to see when the advanced players guide comes out, how they like the new feats they add, new classes, new like subclass things. Like for example, under barbarian, it's instinct. I can't think of what it is under the others. Ancestries. I'm really curious if they're going to add like the Oread again. Some of the ones they had before are awesome. So really excited to see what they do there. New spells. Again, I just want to see. I hope they add more versatility to the spells. So a couple things over here. I once played in a completely barred party. It was chaos. Okay, that sounds fun to me. So I'm totally cool with a whole party of a single race or a single class. In fact, I had a group of all elves once, and I told them beforehand, said, if you all make the same race, I'll let you guys have a feat at first level. Didn't care what they were as long as they were all the same race. And so they did that. They all played elves. Different types of elves, but they played elves. And so actually it's funny because this is how I world build. I'll do stuff like that, and then I'm like, where would this make sense? Okay, I'm just going to plop it right here in this empty space in my world. And then I flesh things out around it based on those things. We didn't play very much because we moved back to this side of the state shortly after that. But it was cool. AG, one of the barbarians in that first group started a cult and got the bard to help her spread the faith. And the two became BFFs. By the way, the barbarian was a dragonborn and the bard was a tabaxi. Oh, interesting. See, that would be fun. I would totally get behind that. BN Drake says the minis are looking good. Yeah, so I love what my wife did because I don't do the painting. I might get back into it. I just ordered one of those Citadel miniature holders for mini painting. So these two I think are really cool. These are the two Dragonborn sorcerers. They come in this pack right here. And so this is what she did with them. I think they're sweet. If you want to see pictures, they're over in the Discord and the mini painting. You can scroll through them. A couple other members have posted their miniatures. She's done this guy. He's a dwarven summoner from Pathfinder. He's really cool. You can pass for like a wizard or a sorcerer or something too. She started 3 of these harpies last time, which was just a couple days ago. They're purple, green, and brown. You can't see the green because of my green screen, but you know, it's really starting to look cool. I think those are going to be awesome when she's done. So yeah. What sort of cake? So my wife is making a cake that has candy in it. I think it's just confetti cake, and then she's got pockets where she's going to put candy, like M&Ms or whatever. Chance's D&D Spellbook. Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing your review. Yeah, I think so. We're playing the 11th. So June 11th is when we're going to play. By then, I will know how the system plays, I think. And I will have... I've already got some things when I did my flip through that really were irking me, and people have said, well, they got to do this for balance and that. Like the one thing that came up was unarmored defense and unarmed attacks. Everybody pretty much has that. Like, to me, those were things the monk should have, and not everybody, you know? And it became like this big thing for me, like where I'm like, why does everybody have it? And someone's like, well, you have to do it because otherwise when you get higher in level, then they're going to be crit on every hit. And I'm like, okay, so let's build a mechanic that fixes that problem rather than just give everybody unarmored defense as a trained thing. Like, that just seems silly to me. Like, I would rather say, hey, if you've got a weapon and you're not wearing armor, you can use your weapon to parry. And rather than it being just your standard, like, +1 to your armor class or +2, Maybe now it's a whatever. If you're trained with the weapon, it's that many levels, right? So the trained mechanic in this is 2 plus your level. So maybe you do 2 plus your level if you're trained with a sword to parry when you have no armor. It's the same thing, but it's as long as you have the weapon. So now you create a nice little tactical thing where maybe because this guy is an expert with a weapon, you now want to disarm him so that then you could get the auto crit because he's got no weapon or armor to defend himself. I just feel like that would make for much better combat, more fun, more situational, but at the same time, not. I mean, it would still be just as crunchy. It wouldn't necessarily change that. So that's what I would do. But that's just my opinion, and I actually might do. That's one of the things I said I might do as a house rule. Jimmy Cunningham. I kickstarted Troll Lord Games' Amazing Adventures 5e. I got the PDF of the rulebook, but enjoying it. Actually getting ready to run Death House from COS. I don't even know what any of that is, other than 5e. But sounds interesting. I mean, if you're excited, that's what matters. I don't back a lot of Kickstarters. As we discussed earlier, I'm basically a stay-at-home dad that's one day, hopefully 1 year, gonna do this YouTube stuff full time. I don't know. And again, that's not even my goal. Like I actually want to start releasing products. I want to do a lot of other things. Omnisci, welcome, buddy. Good to see you. Will you post a picture of the cake on Twitter? So I have in the past. I've posted on my Instagram as well. I've got a lot of Instagram posts. But if you go and follow Master the Game RPG, I think it might even just be RP on Twitter. You'll see my logo. You can't miss it. You might be able to scroll far enough back to see old birthday cakes. My wife does an awesome job on cakes. Maybe I'll see if I can dig them all up because I'm sure they'll show up on my Facebook feed here soon as a memory. I'll save them and maybe I'll post them in my Discord under off topic or something. AG says my first game had 2+ barbarians, 3+ wizards, 1 bar. Oh my gosh, you had way too many players. Wait, that is 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players? Hell no. 4 players is perfect for in person. Online, I like 3 or 4 players. I don't like getting up to 5 or 6 players online, but it does happen occasionally. And it's so much slower. And I think because everyone's so focused, it also is more draining because of how slow it can be. But in person, it doesn't bother me as much having 5 or 6 players. It still takes a while, and you get a little bit. I've noticed you get a little bit more like out of game conversation when you have 5 or 6 players than when you have 4 players. So it's just one of those things. The wizards had their own book club. The bard and one of the barbarians spread the word of Amber were so random chaotics. The other barbarian was a murder hobo. Oh, there was also a rogue in the party too. Yeah, no thanks. Like, again, that just sounds like way too much going on. The most I've tried to run for outside of Adventurers League was we had 2 couples, my wife, so that's 5, and then so we had 6 players. 7 players, and that was a bit much for me. And none of them, except for my wife and one of the couples, had played D&D. And unfortunately, the one couple that had played D&D was the most disruptive. One of them was a rogue, and he tried to steal from the party. He tried to swindle them in negotiating how much they would get paid for the mission, like because he would go get the information from his guild to do something, and then, or he did the first session. It was just a mess. It was such a mess. So, anyways, so there's some other things I had gripes about with Pathfinder that I'll get into at some point, but we'll see. DM Sammy, okay, hang on before I get. AG said, yeah, we did have too many players, no focus. No wonder my GM was burned out. Yeah, it'd be too much for me. Sammy, I'm always lawful neutral. Why are you always lawful neutral? Omnisci said, you need to change the structure of the game when you have that many people. Yes, I agree with that. I can't. I just can't. Jamie says, Troll Lord Games, they own Castle. Oh, yeah. Castle and Crusades. I'm really familiar with that. Amazing Adventures 5e is a Pulp Fiction multi-genre game. Yeah, I get that. Okay. Indiana Jones, Sky Captain tomorrow, Cthulhu. Oh, the Rogan Party never did that. The Bard did though. Yeah, see that's what I don't like. So when I've told players, I have a rule in my games that if a player is stealing from other party members, the other party members would not bring them along in real life. In life or death situations, if you have somebody that's with you that's taking your weapons, your rations, basically putting you in danger, you will not work with them. It will not happen. So when that stuff happens and the other player catches them, whether it's the passive perception, crit fail from the other people, or whatever, I say that disruptive player's character becomes an NPC and they need to make a new character. That is my personal house rule, and I've found that when I mention that up front, people don't play like assholes. Minus or part of my language, but that's basically what they're doing. They're being jerks. I kind of like Geralt from The Witcher. I do what good I can, regardless of sides. Lawful isn't good though. Lawful just means you follow laws. Good means you're good. Neutral means, you are neutral. You're not good or bad. And for whatever reason. So I play chaotic good or chaotic neutral. If I'm playing chaotic neutral, that means I'm playing a very selfish character who sometimes just doesn't care what others think. If I'm playing chaotic good, I want to help people, but I don't care about the means to get it done. I also don't like alignments very much. I feel like they're pretty restrictive, to be honest, because there's no one size fits all kind of thing. On the side, if a player works against the group, they can be voted off the island. The player can be booted too. Yeah, I don't even leave it up to the players because I don't want other players to feel the pressure that they have to choose that. You know what I mean? So as a game master, I say, look, and I'll sometimes give a warning if I feel like they're gonna do it. So we play Tomb of Annihilation. We have a lawful good cleric that is anti-killing like goblins or orcs or whatever, right? Like if they're unarmed or whatever, even though they've like done all these terrible things. And I play currently a barbarian in that game who doesn't care about that. My barbarian's logic is that, hey, if we set this guy free, he's going to go do the same things he just did to somebody else, or he's going to kill people or hurt innocent people. Like, you can't let him go free. And hey, we're in a jungle, so you can't necessarily keep him as a prisoner because it puts us at risk. So you really have to do the thing that's uncomfortable, right? That's just how I am, though. Geralt is pretty much true neutral with tendencies to good. Exactly. I agree with. I agree how that is. Definitely. The Witcher's cool. But I don't, again, like with alignments, to me, I don't even care what my players' alignments are most of the time. I'd rather not know. And I'd just be like, look, don't even put an alignment down. Just play a character consistently in a certain way that makes sense. And don't stray too far from it unless it's like an outrageous circumstance. Like, hey, my guy's always good, will never kill somebody, right? Oh, but wait, you just had your daughter kidnapped. That might change your mindset. Now you might do that because you're desperate. So then it makes sense. But if you just do it randomly one time just because, that's where you have problems, I think. We kept the murder hobo in the party so we could keep him on check. Hey, whatever. As long as it doesn't cause problems for the party. We had Dragonite fights between my wife's brother's wife and their son because he was playing a monk that was very chaotic and was totally about not taking any prisoners, which was weird to me. Basically, he was a martial artist that didn't mind being a murder hobo. And she was completely anti-murder hobo, and it led to some pretty rough fights. But it is what it is. And luckily, his dad stepped in and was like, as the wizard was like, it's not smart to do that. Like, so he was playing on his wife's side, and I just kind of stayed out of it. I would warn a player who works against the party first, but I respect the wishes of players if they can't work with another one. Yeah, I found that when I make the rule up front, though, people just don't do disruptive things. It's like, oh crap. Like the upfront thing is really their first warning. Maybe in game I'll give them a second warning, like if it's something kind of light. Like, oh, they pickpocketed a couple coins from somebody. Okay, like whatever. I'll be like, look, if they catch you doing this stuff, there would be no reason for them to travel with you. I will make your character an NPC, and you'll have to roll up a new one. And it's been more of a deterrent, and it's worked. It's like a speed limit sign. People are still probably going to speed, but at the same time, they try to stay around the speed limit. Like on the expressway, you might go 10 over, but you're not going to go 40 over, kind of thing. My wizard is about halfway between lawful good and neutral good. Okay. I prefer 5e's bonds, ideal flaws, and goals to be farm. 100% agree with that. 100%. And I love how they can inspire roleplay and how your character is molded, for sure. Chance says backstory is way more than alignment. Changed my mind. I agree. I hope, as we get future games, alignment's gone, and I hope we have more of just the backstory stuff. Maybe even more in depth. Maybe it adds a couple more like things other than an ideal or a flaw or whatever. Maybe there's quirks. Maybe there's secrets. Things you can add. Chance of D&D spellbook, way more important. 100. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Backstory matters, but I don't want somebody to write me a 2-3 page backstory. That's too much. AG, my current game has only 3 players: a wizard, a druid, and a bard. Okay, you see, and that is fine. Druids serve as really good tanks in 5e. The DM was one of the wizards from the first game. Bye, guys. I have to go now. Have a great day. Bye, Sammy. Yeah, I should probably go too. Technically, these are only supposed to go till 2, but I'm having a good time, and I haven't heard that like the house is burning down on the other side of the garage. So, so I've been good. But the last thing I'll say is I do think that Pathfinder 2nd Edition will probably become my go-to system. So last night, I cashed out. So I have a Patreon account, which, if anyone's interested in doing that, we obviously buy miniatures and things like that. And last night I cashed out my Patreon, and it was the first time I've done it in like 2-3 years, and it didn't have a lot. Like I've had a couple $1 and $5 backers for a while, and right now I think I'm doing like $11 a month. So it's not like this huge thing. But I ended up buying with the money that I had. I spent all of it and spent like some of my personal money. I bought the bestiary for Pathfinder, the game mastery guide, the GM screen. And then I also bought a holder for miniature painting. So right now when we paint, you got to hold it by your hand like this, and you hit your fingers, and it's hard to get where you need to really. So we got the Citadel one that also has the clamps, because my kids play with my miniatures. I've got maybe 5 to 10 miniatures that have been dropped, and like the stands have broke, or the arms have broken off. And so this thing has these clamps that can hold on and keep it in place so you can glue it. And I'm really excited about it. So I can get all those fixed, and we can do a better job painting. So I'm really excited about that. But I don't remember where I was going with that. So I think Pathfinder is going to be my go-to system. Right now, I'm running a couple monthly games, and I'm looking to play more games on my channel if people want to run games on my channel. So we'll be streaming more stuff. I'm willing to try other systems. I've got a Call of Cthulhu game this Saturday. We've got Pathfinder next month. We've got our Descent game. We got our BlackRock game. So those are what's going on right now. So I have 2 campaigns I'm running, and then there's 2 one-shots coming up, possibly a Pathfinder 2nd Edition campaign that we might have to figure out after the one shot. So toodaloo, Sammy. A wizard, a druid, and a bard walk into a campaign. Bard was a mistype. She was a fighter. Oh, okay. Gotcha. I was going to say druids make for good tanks, so you don't need a fighter or anything, especially if they shape change. Omnisci, was she a flamboyant fighter? Fighter, druid, wizard. No bard. You're a stronger man than I just can't get into Pathfinder. 2nd edition, it's really appealing, man. Like, I don't know what you've looked into with it. Again, it has some of the same crunch, but the way the character creation looks awesome. Like I made a character, I've made most of my wife's character. Yeah, she's gonna go through and redo it. Um, I think it's gonna be great. Barking Cricket, just now logging in. When do you stream? So I'm in Michigan, so we're in Eastern time zone. Tonight we're gonna stream mini painting at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Most of our stuff will be around that 8:30, 9 o'clock p.m. time. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I usually interview guests from 12 Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern. Today I've gone about 1 minutes over. Um, my guest was supposed to be Randall Hampton from the Little Game Master, but his power went out yesterday, or was out. I don't know if it went out yesterday. And so we rescheduled just, in preparation that maybe he wouldn't have power today. He's an author. He's written 2 children's books that he's back through Kickstarter. They're really nice. And I think we're going to reschedule for early July. So, yeah. Descent was fun. We just finished last week. We are very early into Descent. So I run the game. We have Luke from the DM Lair. We have Nate from WSD20. We have Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and then my wife. We're all in Michigan, so this was an in-person game. And we're in like 7 or 8 sessions in. And without spoiling anything, we are just at the part pre-Vanthamper Villa. So they're scoping out the Vanthamper Villa for whatever reason. Again, I'm not going to spoil. Please don't spoil it in the chat. If you guys want to go watch it, you can. Luke is a disruptive player. Like, we've called him out on it. He's very like, I'm running in. I'm going to talk, even though my character is not the talker of the group. Like, he's just go, 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 which I think is hilarious. But we've had a couple talks where other players haven't been able to get words in or do their thing. And so, he knows. He's even said it on his stream. He's like, I'm the worst player. He's not the worst player. But he's definitely a little bit disruptive. There was also a hireling who was either a fighter or rogue. So we were just talking about this on stream the other night. My wife was like, yeah, players don't ever ask for hirelings. And I'm like, yeah, they do. Like, just not like, or actually they don't usually, but they should, if you're undermanned, I think players should definitely do it. If you have 2 or 3 players and you're missing a role that you think is important, like a healer or a rogue or a wizard, ask if you can hire one, to split your loot with, basically. She's a rough and tumble woman. The druid and wizard are both sages. The druid an ecologist and wizard a teacher. Okay. Interesting. Awesome. Are you only on YouTube or do you stream on Twitch or Discord? So I have a Discord channel. It's in the description. I have a Twitch channel, but I haven't streamed to it in a while. Right now we're streaming just to this channel on YouTube. So feel free to subscribe. In fact, I'd appreciate it. There's a chance we will go back to using Twitch. So Twitch, the thing I like about Twitch is I do like how easy it is to run things and interact with the chat. Like, I do like a lot about it. The thing I don't like is the discoverability is difficult. And so we had some sessions where you'd have like 3 people in the chat. And then we'd have some sessions that had 20 people. And it just bothered me a little in that regard. Now, obviously, we would get raids, which were huge. I think we got a raid one time that jumped us up to like 30 viewers at one time. But ultimately, I just decided for now I'm going to do YouTube. I'll be monetized on YouTube in like a month or 2. I used to be monetized. I talked about that earlier today. So we're going to get monetization back, and we're going to switch over to Twitch for some stuff, for sure. I don't know what I'm going to do on Twitch and what I'm going to do on YouTube, but I'll probably do both. So that's the idea. But I prefer YouTube, to be honest. It gets views after the fact. It's always there. Obviously, you can keep things on Twitch if you want to, but the fact that it's only up there for 2 weeks, unless you do something to keep it there, is kind of silly. No spoilers at all, but I know where you're at in it. Yep, good. I've been following Luke for some time and recognize you from there. Yeah, Luke is awesome. It's funny. So I reached out to him when he only had like 200 subscribers because I recognized he was very entertaining, had good information. I was like, I want to get to know this kid. Plus, I knew he lived in Lansing and he was a U of M grad, and I used to live 8 minutes from U of M, and Now I live about 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes west of him in Lansing. And so I was like, man, and I couldn't get him to talk. Like, when he first started, he would interact with my comments in his chat, but I sent him like private messages and stuff, nothing ever until I met him at Grand Con last year in Grand Rapids, and we started talking and hit it off. And so ever since then, we've become friends. So it's been cool. And I've known Nate since 2014, before he had ever played 5e or anything from WASD 20. I want to say I was his first D&D DM because he had played Pathfinder Society in 13th Age before he played with us. And then he joined our Pathfinder campaign, and then we switched that over to 5e really quickly. So, and then Jake I met in 2014 or 15. No, it was 14 at Grand Con. And I had shouted his channel out on the Provokers when like the Provokers didn't know who he was, and like that started them being friends. So it's pretty awesome. We didn't ask for the hireling. He just sort of showed up. Oh, well, that's lame. And the druid, yes, he's a moon druid. Moon druids are sweet. They're really good, especially at low levels. They get weaker as you go up, pretty much, until they can cast spells in animal shape. But yeah. Jimmy says, watching Nate's videos is how I came across you. Oh, cool. Yeah, so I don't know if he mentions anything about my channel anymore, but I know back in like 2015 we did a couple collaborations together, and I love Nate. Nate, his wife, his kids. I think we had dinner like once over there at their house, and his family's awesome. He's got some cool kids. I haven't been over there though since his daughter was super tiny, like newborn pretty much. But yeah, Nate's a good. In fact, all of them, Nate, Jake, Luke, are all awesome people. So, yes, I lurk on Nate's channel too. His maps are amazing. One of his first streams was a map of my world for the campaign I was running for them. In fact, I still have it. Let me grab that. I'll show you guys. Let me grab it. It's right over here, so it shouldn't be too difficult. It's under a stack of books and stuff that I was using for something. So here's one of the first maps he streamed drawing. I still have, and I put it in this clear thing. I think this was actually the print. Do I have the original with this? Is the original? No, actually, this is the original. No, is that a printout? This might be a printout of it. I have the original, or had it somewhere, I think. Maybe he has the original, and he just copied it for me. I don't know. But anyways, this was one of the first ones he ever did on stream. And yeah, it's really cool. So I've tried to mimic the style for some of my other maps I've done myself. I'm not as good as him, that's for sure. You know. He got me into map making also. Yeah, so in high school, I used to take a lot of art classes. I did painting and drawing, art 1 and 2. I did a jewelry making class. In middle school, we actually got our geography teacher to start an art class as an elective because we didn't have, I think it was a drawing class, strictly drawing. So we got our art teacher to start a drawing elective or our geography teacher to start a drawing elective in 7th or 8th grade. And actually it had to be 8th grade. And I remember one of the things we focused on was perspective. Like, I think it was perspective. It's like top-down views of cities where you have to like, here's like where the traffic would flow kind of thing. So everything goes to the horizon line. And I remember doing cities all the time back then. And I was obsessed with SimCity at the time as well. So this was around 98, 99. And for me, SimCity 2000 was like the coolest game. So I loved when we did that in class. So I used to do a lot of maps back then, and then I didn't do it again until the last couple of years. He got me into map making also. He's awesome, dude. Absolutely awesome. You can commission him too. Amen, brother. Nate's a great cartographer. Same here, Jimmy. Yeah, for sure. We don't entirely trust the hireling. Also, technically, we didn't hire him. Our quest givers did. Gotcha. So, yeah, I wouldn't trust him either. I wouldn't let him do any watches. I would make the party do all your watches at night and just, yeah. I remember that map and him working on it. Yeah, so that was our game that we started with Pathfinder and then started playing 5e in. I actually, so that campaign, we had some directionless sessions, I will admit. There were times where I was like, ooh, this isn't going where I thought it was going to go, and now I don't know what to do. But then luckily players would do crazy stuff, like they did some Vlad the Impaler stuff to some innocent guards that they didn't realize were innocent guards, and like just some crazy stuff. It was awesome though. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, Nate, I love Nate. I love Luke. I love Jake. They're all awesome. Luke always raids my channel when he's streaming and then we are streaming at the same time. So I always enjoy that too. Like a bunch of people, hey, coming over from DM Lair. That's always funny. But yeah. So anyways, so tonight I'm gonna try and see if my wife wants to paint minis. If not, we'll definitely do it tomorrow night. And I'll talk more about Pathfinder. I've talked a little bit about some of the things that bother me with it, but I do think it might end up becoming my go-to system to run outside of my 5e games I'm already running. Obviously, I'm running 2 5e games. But yeah, I think it's a really well done system. One game I didn't talk about that is really interesting. It's called Age Past. It's a fantasy RPG by Strange Machine Games. And I've been meaning to review this, but I've never played it. We were supposed to play his Super Age game with him, but he had to bail on us a while back. And so the system is called the Elegant 10. And basically you only roll d10s and percentiles in the game. And I want to pull it up just because I think it is interesting. It's got a lot of cool history about the world up front, but I like to run things in my own world, so I will probably never... I'll read it and use it for inspiration, but I will never, never do anything with it, right? Never run a game in this setting. Looking for it. I'm looking for it. Understanding your character. I may have missed it. I don't know. Anyway, it's Elegant 10. You can choose... For every difficulty or whatever, you can choose to set a die aside for an automatic +1. So everything's got a target number, and when you roll a 10, it's an automatic success or whatever. I don't know. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to remember something I've never played and I've only read 3 times. Okay, that was weird. Okay. It's in the introduction. So, all right, so Elegant 10. So the way it works is when you determine a skill success, a set of dice are rolled. Let's say 5 10-sided dice. The results are 2, 5, 6, 10, 10. Your total score is the value of the highest die rolled, so this would have been 10. In this case, it would be a 10. But since a second 10 has been rolled, the player would gain a +2 bonus for a total of 12. The more dice you roll, the higher the chance to roll a high number, and the higher the chance to add bonus to that from rolling 10s. The player, however, can choose to hold back dice from rolling to add an automatic +1 to the roll. So if the pool total is 5d10, then the player can roll 3 and gain a +2 for the 2 dice that weren't rolled. So it's kind of interesting that you have this option to play with the mechanics a little bit. But at the same time, it's still a little confusing for me. The other thing is, I was looking over here at another part where it's talking about dice rolls. And it says the only dice used are 10 when rolling multiple d10. It is usually written as, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. The better the roll, the more dice you roll. In some instances, a 1d5 might be described. That was a little weird to me. But anyways, it says, this means the player rolls a d10 and halves the result. So a 9 or a 10 would be a 5, right? Which would then give you the 5. And then it might also, if you get a second one, that'd be +2. So you'd be 7, is my understanding. But I feel like I would hold more back then because you're talking about such small numbers then. So I don't know. So it's an interesting system. I haven't made a character for it. I haven't done my flip through for it yet. I think this might be one that I will do a flip through for for next week. So you guys might be able to see this next Friday. Tomorrow, I believe we will have a flip through for the Power Outage RPG. It's a superhero RPG by Babarchi. It's meant for children. It is very focused towards kids, but it looks like a fun game. Jimmy says, do you use Fantasy Grounds? So I talked about this a little bit earlier. I prefer, if I'm running a game and streaming the game, to just do Theater of the Mind and roll physical dice. That's what I prefer. I've used Roll20 as a player. I've used dice apps. I don't care for dice apps. I kind of hate them. We will be playing using Fantasy Grounds for Pathfinder 2nd Edition on July 11th. So that'll be interesting. I've never used it. In fact, we were trying to use it last week and it was really slow and felt clunky because of it. But maybe it's not that bad. AG says, he did haggle to get us a nice bonus for the first quest, though. It was a gemstone, which he bought off of us for ease of dividing the loot, and we haven't seen him since. Apparently he owes people money, though. Barking Cricket. Is that a high fantasy RPG with lots of magic, or not so much with the magic? I'll look, but I'm not really sure. I think it's high magic, but I don't know. Jimmy says, gotta go. Hopefully see you later tonight. Yeah, I hope you'll join us, man. Barking Cricket says, I made a chart for what dice to roll for 1dx, with X as a number for 1 through 50. Very helpful sometimes. Yeah, for sure. I get that. My game is mid-high fantasy, if you're asking me. I think he meant for age past. So let's see if it says on the back. Terrace is a world torn asunder, her being separated by vast and indomitable landscape. This is the story of Inkia, or Incia, I don't know how they say it. A continent ruled by magic that can only be conquered by epic heroes. Are you her savior or destroyer? Build exactly the character you want, tailored in your own vision. 140 unique powers, most of which can be taken multiple times, and guarantees that no two characters will be similar. 150 spells with 14 different spell schools. Cast exactly the spell you want without restrictions. Cinematic combat. Use a dynamic and fluid system that provides more action each session. Over 70 monsters. Sandbox. Tons of specialized tools to build your perfect hero and craft your favorite tools. Options. Customize your playstyle using a large array of optional rules or use them to enhance your favorite game. So there you go. I guess this says it right here. Epic heroes, basically. Yeah. And magic. Ruled by magic. I was asking about the Lost Ages. It's Age Past. I called it Lost Ages too, but it's called Age Past. I thought that the logo and stuff right there had a very like Asian feel to it. You know, like a samurai-ish feel, or a kung fu flick feel, but there's nothing in it that's like that. So, yeah, no, it looks cool though. I mean, there's a lot of pages. There's some art. I'll pull up some art. I did a box opening of this once, so here's some of the art. I actually like it. I have a friend who did some playtesting for him and is helping him on future projects. He's also working on his own game system, and he actually put in a good word for me to get it as a review copy, and it's such a big book, and I haven't been able to find people to run it or play it, and I struggle to run a game I haven't read, or at least have not made a character for, right? So I should probably get around to running it. When I did take it on, I said, I promise you I will do a flip through, and I promise you I'll at least do an unboxing. And I did the unboxing. But yeah, I will do a flip through for it next week, and hopefully before then I'll get a little bit of reading done on it. But the character sheets are pretty overwhelming they're not like D&D stat blocks or anything. Like, it's just different. You know, and I've played percentage-based systems. I've played all sorts of systems. This one being a dice pool D10 system is a little different than what I'm used to. So, yeah. I mean, it looks pretty self-explanatory for the most part. It does have, like, not pre-gens, but, like, character archetypes or whatever that you could use. you know, a lot of gear. It has a lot of information, and so that's why I've been reluctant to even try to run it with anybody. But for example, so here's one of the archetypes, right? It looks like a character sheet almost, not a character sheet, but it's got all the stuff there, right? So I don't know how that works, like if it's you pick things, but it looks like that's just it. Your archetype for an exile dependent gunslinger is that. So, you know, I do comment a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if you ran into my comments on other things too. Hey man, do your thing. We love the comments. I shoot for low magic in my games, which means that I usually end up with mid-high as well. LOL. Mid-high fantasy, but realistic amounts of gold. Yeah, I like high magic, but I don't know a lot of magic, and I don't play a lot of magic characters, so that's kind of my issue there. Um, but I do enjoy, like, I like magic items. I like giving magic items out as a DM. Let's see, you got grenades, you got poisons, siege weapons. There's quite a few of them. Naval warfare. So this is a really fleshed out book. And with its size, I mean, I'm not surprised. It's actually, so the paper's a little thicker. So look at this. I want you to see the thickness compared to Pathfinder Second Edition. So Pathfinder Second Edition, they're about the same, by the way. Pathfinder Second Edition has 600 and some odd pages. Okay, this book has not 600 pages, more like 400. So that's how much thicker the paper is. Um, Henchmen, nice. Animals and mounts, got a whole bunch of pages about animals and mounts. How many pages is that? Maybe not that many. Maybe like 10 pages of mounts and stuff and rules for it. Adventuring is about 20 pages. So yeah, it's a really fleshed out book. I do like the art for their weapons. Check those out. The art for the weapons is really cool. I dig that. Always like looking at other systems for stuff to implement into my version of 5e. The list of house rules grows. One of my favorite systems is MERP from ICE, Middle Earth RP from Iron Crown. Yeah, so I'm actually working on, again, I'm working on my own system that right now it was very influenced by what I wanted to see different in 5e, but then I started implementing like weird things that don't have anything to do with that, just that I thought were cool ideas at the moment, that were, when I was thinking they were cool ideas, I wasn't even thinking about what I was putting it into. I was like, oh, let's have like a stamina system in this. Let's have this. Like, so I started throwing these things into it that now that I'm looking back on it, don't make a ton of sense. So I think one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to take the way I ran D&D for my daughter a few years ago, and I'm going to turn that into a quick little rule set, and then make some like characters for it, and maybe put that up on drive-through, and put that out as like my first product I've ever done. Just because like I've got all the rules in my head of how I did it, and just it's really simple, easy for kids to play. I'll probably make it a pay what you want, things like that. Have some fun with it, right? Whatever. So, anyways, I've been going at it for almost 2 hours. I should probably get inside because my 1-year-old will probably be waking up soon. Actually, he probably won't because he was awake an hour ago. But I should probably get inside and make sure the kids aren't killing each other. You know how that goes. But tonight we will be back, so please hit subscribe, give us a like, and then hopefully I can see you guys tonight around 8:30, 9 p.m. Eastern. So we'll probably go for an hour, 2 hours-ish. So with that, this was Master of the Game. I am Juice. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. This has been one of my more fun solo streams I've done. So I'll probably be doing it more too in the future. I actually like doing these. I like to talk. What can I say? So anyways, game on.